And we take this piece off first. So now what you need is you need a tiny screwdriver like this one to go inside that valve. And there's another screw inside of here. Well, hello again and welcome back to my channel. I am camping and I'm having problems with my water valves again on this panel. I had the same issue last year, and what I was having a problem with before was I was losing pressure, and then my tank, my water tank, was filling up when I didn't want it to fill up. So as you can see, I have my water line hooked up and I'm going by the city water to run the fixtures. Everything is connected and this is hissing just slightly, and what is happening is it is completely filling my fresh tank. Well, power fill the fresh tank. This should be switched and this should be switched. So one of these was leaking, and by playing with it and rigging up that little cord, I was able to get it to slow down so it wasn't flowing so much water pressure. But it just keeps getting worse. And then when I went off the grid and boondocking and I hook up dry camp, then I can hear this hiss and my pump keeps running. It'll kick on and kick off. Well, it was doing it about every 10 minutes, the pump would kick on. So I'd have to keep shutting my pump off. Well, now, because this keeps filling my fresh tank, I have to run the system off of the fresh tank. Otherwise, this is just overflowing the tank and I am making a big muddy mess underneath my trailer. So then I have to run off the fresh tank, and then I have to continually turn that on and off. Well, I don't know if you can hear it. So as you can see, when that pump is on, I'm just running non-stop. So right now I have everything switched to dry camping, and I hear a little hissing right here. Now if I switch this to city water connection and the fixtures, then you can see I have completely filled my tank, and now the tank is overflowing. And in addition to it filling up the freshwater tank, whatever it is that is going on behind this valve, it is restricting how much water pressure I have from my system. So this system, I had put a gauge like this one on the line to know that I have 45 pounds of pressure. But inside, if I'm running the shower and somebody turns on the sink, then the pressure just drops drastically. So I need to adjust this valve. And a lot of people online say, well, just take this off and turn it and put it back on. Well, it doesn't work that way. And I'll show you what you really need to do. Either replace this valve, and I'm hoping I don't have to do that because I've taken this all apart before and it is a lot of time, very time consuming. Now if I just take this apart, and I'll show you, I'm hoping I can turn it slightly and put it back together without removing this whole panel. This is the blue valve that is malfunctioning. When my blue valve went bad last year, I was able to get a valve to replace it. It was under warranty, so they sent this to me, but I was able to fix my other one, so I just set it aside for parts or to replace in case. So that screw that's down inside of here, this slides out and you can see the cog mechanism where it opens and closes just 90 degrees. So if you take that blue valve off and you turn it, it's not going to do anything. And that's what I'm hearing people online say. You just take the blue valve off that knob and you put it back on. Well, you can see this is the groove, and I can't quite turn this with my fingers, but that ball valve inside, its direction just changes this way or this way, and that changes the direction of the water flow. And if this cog slips, which has little notches in it, it can just slip just a few degrees, and then it allows that ball valve to be slightly opened or slightly closed, and that's what malfunctions when it comes to you losing water pressure, and or in my case, you can hear the water bleeding through this, squirting through, and it's filling the fresh water tank, or it's allowing the pump to run constant. So let's take this apart and I'll show you how it goes together and what ends up slipping. So inside you'll see a square peg, and inside here you'll see 8 points instead of 4. These little contact points under pressure will slip, and if that slips, it takes it out of alignment. So you can see the way I have it right now, that is the correct alignment. Now if it slips, it's off by that much, which is about 45 degrees. That is what causes the loss of pressure or the constant flow that is causing the pump to go on and off. Now what happened with mine, because I couldn't get it apart, I ended up prying this all apart because I didn't know there was a screw inside of here. So I stripped this shaft. So when I put it back together, I put epoxy in there and I twisted this screw back into place, and it held all last year, but now it has slipped again. So I will eventually have to replace this valve. But for now, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and just keep making these little minor adjustments, and I can get back to camping. This valve is 95 bucks plus shipping plus taxes. So it's not cheap, and it is probably 3 or 4 hours to replace. It is a lot of work. Whenever you're working on plumbing, you want to make sure you haven't got anything pressurized, just in case something comes apart on you, especially when it comes to working with valves. I know these valves are a ball valve, so there's no chance of losing pressure, but I turned everything off anyways. I've got the water line off, I've got my pump off, and I'm going to take this piece off first. You can see where I had whittled away the plastic here because it was putting pressure on this valve, and I think that's what caused it to slip last time. This time I don't have any pressure on it, but it slipped again. And when I de-winterized the trailer for this trip, this was stuck, and I was really having to twist hard on it to get it to move, and then it slipped. And I thought I felt it slip a cog, and obviously it has. So now what you need is you need a tiny screwdriver like this one to go inside that valve, and there's another screw inside of here that I've got to take out. And it's a Phillips head screw, but I don't have a tiny little Phillips head screw, so I've got to play around with different straight screws to where I can get into the head of that screw and actually loosen it. So now that I have that loose, I can twist it one cog, tighten it back up, and hopefully this will solve my issue. Okay, it feels right. Now let's turn on the pump. All right. It sounds like it's holding pressure now. And when I turn this on, I can't tell if it's bleeding back into the tank or not. So that's all we'll be able to do is wait for time and see if this is fixed. But it certainly has fixed the freshwater tank and the pump. So yeah, just taking this and turning it doesn't fix the problem. You have to get that little screw inside of there and twist that whole piece. But as you can see, you don't have to take this whole panel apart. All right, well, that was a pretty simple fix, and for such an aggravating problem, and it's something that you can easily fix yourself. You just have to have the right screwdrivers. So if you are out camping and you experience something like this, hopefully you can get to a hardware store, get the tools that you need to be able to do that if you don't have them readily available like I have in this little kit. So that's something that I really recommend having if you're going to be doing these kinds of fixes, especially if you're out in the middle of nowhere when you start running into issues. All right, well, that's it for this video. Luckily, this was a pretty simple fix. Till next time. Seems like there's always something with travel trailers. All right, thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.